Going. We're on. We're already on. Oh, I forgot my rings. Oh well. Hi everyone.
Hello.
Can you believe we're in person? We're so excited for this, and we thought it's a Sunday, so we're just relaxing.
Yep.
But we need to do a podcast in person because we're running out
We
of
did
time.
say we would, and yeah.
So here we are, and we have some questions that I asked on my story yesterday. Let's dive straight in, shall we? Yeah, my eye is bloodshot. You can't tell on Zoom. Can you tell in person? Wait, that one.
A little bit, not much.
Why can't you tell on Zoom? Can't even see myself. The podcast, I'm sorry about this because you're missing out on the video. Okay, so let's dive straight in. The difference between therapist and coach and our experiences of both. Since you're a guest in my house, would you like to go first with this one?
Sure, yeah. So I have had 2 therapists and 2 coaches for recovery. My first therapist was not anything to do with eating disorders whatsoever. It was just I was desperate to find somebody. I was in a really bad place, and my friends found this therapist. To be honest, he was completely pants, and he didn't understand anything to do with eating disorders. So that is the first thing I would say is you need somebody that has experience with helping people with eating disorders. Definitely. So I then had a different therapist who did have experience in working with people with eating disorders. My experience was she was probably what I needed at the time for a short time, but I just wanted to get on and recover. I didn't want to do the softly, slowly kind of approach. And so the first couple of sessions with her were great because I was just so fucking scared. Just actually being there was a huge thing for me to do. But then I kind of felt like I just wanted to get on, and I felt like almost like I was being held back. And then I had my first coach who really helped me with the practical aspects of eating, and guided me with that, but didn't help me with any sort of emotional stuff particularly. So I'd say the difference between the therapists and her was the therapists were very, very softly. The first coach was very matter of fact, this is what you need to do. And I guess I probably feel now that was more mentoring than coaching. She was giving me a set of instructions, guideline to follow.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And then I met you, and the world changed. And I started to, well, you asked me questions. You
That's
made me
official
look,
coaching. Yeah.
You made me look at inside myself and finding out what was going on. And you were the first person to say, so what are you afraid of? Gaining weight, and what does that mean? And what does that mean?
Yeah.
And for me to actually explore the reasons below the reasons.
Other than just a set of instructions
yes,
to do the behavior side of things.
And that was absolutely what I needed to properly recover, to not just weight restore, but to find out who I was and to get curious. And yeah, so to me, from my experience, and I'm sure every single person is going to be different.
Yeah.
Each of the therapists, each of the coaches I had were very, very different. But to me, the difference between true coaching, which is what I had with you, and therapy was uncovering my limits and facing my own truths.
Yeah, I agree. So for me, and let's speak to our friend Harriet Frew, who is a therapist. but I know she's very much, whether she agrees with this or not, I see her as a coach slash like
I do.
therapist, like
Yes.
both. But so her aside, the therapists I've had, and they've been named different things, psychotherapist, counselling therapist. When I was in the anorexia, I didn't want to be there. So no matter who the therapist was, it wouldn't have made any difference because I was sat there with my arms crossed the whole time and just shaking my head or nodding and not wanting to speak. But when I did want to get help, which is when I, went to psychotherapists, counselling, which I guess it's the same thing in a way. I guess there's distinguishes between each
Yeah,
one.
just different directions within the same field is
Yeah.
my interpretation. Maybe if you're a psychotherapist, you might think differently.
Yes. Yeah.
That's my interpretation.
Yeah. So I had different ones, and I learned, I want to say I learned a lot. I learned some stuff, but not enough compared to coaching, which is why I became a coach and not a therapist, because then I had coaches. So therapists helped me not even go that deep actually.
I found it was about
Yeah.
coping mechanisms, giving me coping
Yes.
mechanisms to deal with what was going on rather than
Yeah.
uncovering and sorting out what was going on.
Absolutely, thinking back actually. So it wasn't even that deep rooted. We spoke a bit about mum and dad, but not really to the depth of what I support clients in going to. And there wasn't really a lot of action. And the biggest difference that I see or saw, and that's why again I became a coach, is that feeling of when you hire a coach, a good coach, you feel like someone's with you on the journey. You're not just seeing them once a week or twice a month and the session, and they care in the session. I'm not saying they don't care out the session, but you know what I'm saying. There's a difference between a coach being so invested in your journey too, with message support in between, any questions answered. It's almost like a journey you're on together.
Yeah. And then the momentum doesn't drop in between sessions, does it?
No, and also with our pricing structure as coaches, there's a reason that we don't offer just single sessions as and when, because when you are in need of support and help, and this is from my personal experience investing in myself with coaches too, when you sign up for a 3 or 4 or 6 month program and you pay that money in advance or an installment, so you're committed to it, you see it through to the end. When it gets hard. So if you were to just like and I know everyone's not in a position to be able to do this financially, but that's why we have group coaching as an alternative and stuff like that. But if I were to just show up and pay session by session, when weight gain happened, for example, and I was hit with that massive fear wall, I probably would have retreated back.
I would have retreated, definitely. And when it got hard, it was hard all the way through, but those times where you think, I literally just can't do this. This is beyond me. I'm not strong enough. I can't do it. I think I would definitely have given up.
If you hadn't committed.
Yeah. And definitely paying what to me was a big amount of money.
Yeah, it is.
Really was part of
the
commitment, because that was, I suppose, the first step to self-love.
Investing, I like a better word, investing in yourself.
Yes.
And in your journey and having that skin in the game. You show up because it's like, holy shit, this kind of needs to work.
Yeah.
And it does.
Although with the one-off sessions or single sessions, I do actually do that now for clients that have finished their block and they're doing really well but just want to check in occasionally because they've done the work, as it were. I mean, the work never ends, does it? But
that makes sense though, because they've had that they've got that strong foundation.
Yeah. I mean, we did that as well, actually.
Yeah, we did. So that's our take on, and again, like Julia said, every single person is different. Every therapist is different. They may work very much like a coach, and every coach is different. But that's our experience, and that's why we went into coaching. And not gonna lie, the amount of training and things the therapist they have to jump through a lot of hoops. They have to be monitored a lot.
Yes.
And I'm not afraid of being monitored, but I want complete free range on how to support my clients.
Well, then we can use different things.
Modalities.
Yes, that's the word.
Give Julia a word today. Exactly, because I'm not certified in, let's say, NLP. However, one of my best friends is, and I've learned a lot. So I'm not certified in NLP, but I know what I'm doing, and I use that with some clients. if I need to. And then inner child healing and CBT and all the things that I intuitively use through coaching, through my clients, you wouldn't be able to do that if you were a licensed therapist.
No, you have a more structured
Yes.
path you have to follow.
I don't like structured paths. I don't like being kept in a...
Everybody's different, aren't they?
Yeah.
So somebody's needs may need a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of this and a bit of that,
Definitely.
rather than just CBT or
Yeah.
just NLP or
1,000%, which is why I love coaching, because we have free reign as well. And also you need to really trust the person that you're working with. Oh, one other thing I'll say, then we will go on to the next question, and I think you and I both agree on this. I believe the therapist or coach or mentor needs to have experienced what you're coming to help them
100%.
with. Like, I'm not a parenting coach because I've not had children. So yeah, I can use my knowledge, but I don't know what it's like to be in a situation when your child or teenager is doing something. You do, I don't.
Yeah.
But I do know what it's like to be in anorexia, bulimia, binge eating, self-hate, abuse, petrified, fear of weight gain, all the things. I've been through it. So that's really, in my opinion, really important. So follow your heart with who you choose to support you. Oh, we're looking at the questions. Young lady who asked this question, and I'm not going to say her name. I know she was half joking. However, the question is, by the way, can you fix me? Question mark. And then she said she loves us. Yeah. So that again, because I talked over you.
You're not broken.
You don't need to be fixed.
You're not broken.
No. And I'm going to use fix it in brackets, air quotes, because those are the words that you've used. We can't fix you because all we can do is guide you, hold up a mirror, ask the right questions, all that. And you get to quote, fix, there's no fixing, fix yourself. And that's the shit part. No one can do it for you. No one's going to rescue you.
When I first started recovery, I felt like I had this big pack, this big case full of issues. And I thought, crazily, that I could hand it to somebody and they'd make it all right and then give it back to me okay.
Yeah.
And I felt the answer, they would fix me. That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a huge learning curve to discover that I had to look inside myself, and all the answers were inside myself, and no external, there is no magic, there is no way round, there is nothing that you can say, oh, actually this supplement will do it.
That pill,
that, yeah,
that magic wand.
Yeah. If I do this kind of therapy, that's
going to be easy.
It. Yeah. Hypnosis, yeah, that's going to do it. And all these things may help in the short term.
Definitely.
There's no, yeah. I'm not saying they're all a load of rubbish.
No, because we use hypnotherapy and in our coaching, yeah.
And they may all help in some way, but the answer's in your heart.
Always. And what I would say there as well off the back of that is, I got annoyed's the wrong feeling when I really realised that nobody is coming to save me. There's no fairy godmother, there's no man on a white horse, there's no magic wand, there's no coach or person that will make everything easily better. That sucked to be in that truth.
100%.
And then once I allowed myself to feel the suck and be like, that's not fair, it's not fair still, and I'm upset about that, then the only choice I had was to take responsibility and connect to my inner power and do it my fucking self with the right support.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be uncomfortable.
I think it's worth speaking to that, because we've had conversations in the woods, haven't we, about our clients. Like, we just take
that sounds really strange. We've had conversations in the woods
about our clients. Not divulging any personal data, by the way, but in general.
Just it's really helpful actually to discuss different situations and stuff, isn't it?
It is, because what we found is, and I guess I did this until I realized there was no way around it, and that's where I was kind of like, right then, let's go. And I've said this again, but I'll say it again, you cannot recover from an eating disorder without being in fear most days until you're not in fear anymore.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
And the eating disorder is going to tell you that you are disgusting and selfish and greedy and
Lazy and disgusting.
and everything, all the things. It's going to tell you that you're never going to stop gaining weight.
Yeah,
It's going to tell you all this stuff. And
it will.
it's going to just keep on doing that until it stops.
And the only way it stops is, this is so counterintuitive, to go against what it's telling
Yeah.
you, because you train yourself by your behaviors. I think I've even written this down here on one of my little post-it note thingies. You teach yourself by your behaviors. So why not teach your brain? Your brain currently has an eating disorder. You don't, because you're not your
Yeah.
brain. It's really worth noting. So teach your brain not to have an eating disorder by doing actions, as well as, of course, the inner child work, the emotional support, all the stuff underneath, by doing the actions of someone who hasn't got an eating disorder. And then the fear does go. We promise you. How many
Yeah.
times did you cry, and me, over porridge?
Every
and food?
day for ages, every day.
Yeah.
And the actions that you need to take, the practical actions, I'm not talking about the inner child, the deep healing and
Yeah,
stuff.
because that needs to happen
But the practical
too.
actions are really exactly the opposite of everything the eating disorder
Yeah,
says.
so that's quite simple, not
Yeah.
easy, but it's simple.
It's simple. It's not easy, but
Yeah.
it is simple. So the eating disorder is like a reverse instructor almost.
Oh, I love that. So when you're having toast and the eating disorder's like, only put like a scraping of butter on,
Yeah.
I would be like,
smother it.
do you know what? I'm going to fucking put too much butter on,
Yes.
whatever too much
Make it
means.
drip.
Yes. And you do that with repetition and consistency, and share with your coach who can
Yeah.
celebrate the shit out of you.
Definitely.
And support you through the fear of weight gain and all of that. And ultimately knowing that this sweet souls question is coming from a lot of unworthiness, feeling unworthy of recovery, unworthy of being happy. The only issue with that is, which is why it's keeping you stuck, is nothing, even us with multiple permission slips, can tell you you're worthy enough. You've got to just choose that yourself. And I know that sounds like so untangible. Is that a word? It is now.
It is now.
It is now. But you have to just decide, even if you don't believe it. It's a decision, isn't it? The word decide comes from Latin, which means to cut away. You make your mind up that I deserved it. I didn't think that, though. Help me out here. I'm talking
I
a load of
suppose
bullshit
I
right now.
worked it out with, well, I didn't work it out, you helped me. But what if I wasn't worthy, if I wasn't good enough, right? Why? What had I done so wrong that would make me not good enough? And what would I look at in others that would make them not good enough? And like not good enough to eat, not worthy of having food. And I couldn't think of a single reason why even people who I thought had done some awful things, like murderers and child abusers and all that sort of thing, or even like Hitler, he still deserved to eat. He was still deserving and worthy, good enough to eat because he was a human being.
And that comes with being human.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone's either doing something it's an act of love or a cry for love. And that's deep spiritual work, to be able to be open to seeing that. Because obviously what we're saying these people have done, it's never going to ever fucking be okay. Never.
No.
But
they
in
still
their
deserve to
world,
eat.
oh, absolutely, yeah. Unless someone wants to torture them and kill them, which isn't love at all.
No. So every living being, is deserving of eating, and we wouldn't have been designed to eat as a necessary part of our survival if we didn't all deserve it, if we weren't good enough. So although I didn't feel like I was good enough, I didn't feel like I was worthy, I couldn't find a good enough reason to not be.
Yes. And I think that feeling of not being worthy is like, it's deep shame, isn't it?
Yes.
It's shame of being human. It's a shame of being who you are, but you can use your intellect like you did to, even if it didn't feel true,
No,
to
it didn't feel true, but
understand.
logically there was no
No.
reason why I wasn't good enough.
And you wanted recovery.
And I wanted to not hate myself.
Yeah. And so you went on that journey, and here you are.
Yeah.
Doing the opposite of that, which is really cool. So, sweet blank name, who I almost said, you don't need fixing. You have everything you need within you. You just need to literally decide. You and I both fucking know that you can do this. It's the
You can do
decision.
it
Yeah.
so much.
It's the decision. She's waiting for permission that only she can give herself.
Yeah.
So give yourself that permission now, not tomorrow.
Yeah,
now.
stop waiting. Stop saying,
For what? For
yeah.
what?
And nothing in your life is more important than your life.
Nothing. Even if you have to stop everything.
Yeah.
In order to actually
your
live
life
again.
is more important than everything.
Yeah. So you've totally got this. You know who you are.
And do it.
Just do it. As Nike says, just do it. I love that slogan.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this question, didn't we?
Yes, I was excited by this. This was where my mindset, wasn't it?
Yeah. This was your
tips on gaining weight in the beginning stages. First of all, you're bloody amazing for coming at it from that mindset.
What a question.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Because why do we love this question so much?
Because it shows you want to get better.
You are absolutely committed to recovery to ask that question.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You probably have absolute fear about gaining weight.
If you didn't, you wouldn't be where you were,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But wow, brilliant. Hats off to you and celebrating you so much.
Me too. Can I go? Because I'm like revving.
Yeah, go.
I'm like raring to go with this. So to answer the direct question, tips on gaining weight fast in the beginning stages. Number one, visit your doctor and get some bloods done and have regular checkups just to make sure you're not going to be at risk of refeeding syndrome.
Yeah.
That's out of our jurisdiction, but you just need to be working with a doctor with bloods, right? Because you had to do that too.
Did, yeah.
And then after you've set that up and those appointments up, I would start with as little volume as possible.
Yep.
With as much nutrition and calories as possible. So I love this one. Literally get a tub of Ben and Jerry's and melt it and just drink it. I'm not joking. Make a smoothie out of it. Anything that you can do to get as much density as possible without the volume of, because it's going to be hard on your digestion.
It's really hard to have a lot of volume. Cheese cubes, nuts, chocolate,
coconut oil, olive oil,
lots
butter.
of butter.
Yeah.
Nut butters.
Yeah.
Chocolate spread.
Oh, Nutella. I used to drink Nutella. Not that I wanted to, but I was in the feasting mode and I couldn't not, which is a good thing.
I tried to make all my drinks count as well. So I had those milkshakes and stuff as drinks because they don't.
That's a great idea. Yeah, the weight gain milkshakes.
Yeah, they taste rank, but it works. I ate a lot of stuff that didn't taste great, to be fair.
But you were committed to recovery though.
Yes. Yeah.
Belvitas in the night. Yeah. I mean, they're not especially like highly.
I have those at the beginning, but in the early stages, I was just looking for things that had, as one of my clients says, concentrated calories.
I love that.
Brilliant.
We don't want to be looking at calories, but if you, at the end of the day, let me put it this way. Anyone with an eating disorder knows about nutrition.
Yeah, 100%.
They know if they're looking at a Mars bar or a protein bar, if they want to gain weight, which can be part of recovery for some, especially from the anorexia recovery, you need to choose the Mars bar.
Yeah, fudge.
Oh, I love fudge so much. Fudge, these types of stuff, it's not rocket science, but there's going to be a lot of fear there. And so as little volume as possible to support your digestion. And obviously you'll have a fear of fullness that you would need someone to support you to work through.
I pretty much cut out fruit and vegetables actually in the early stages.
Yeah.
Because your body has to work so hard to digest them. Yeah. And the more processed foods you can have, and it goes against everything you've learned in nutrition.
And everything that's in the world at the moment.
Diet culture and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the easiest stuff for your body to digest because the processing has done part of the work for that digestion. Exactly.
And if you're worried about, getting enough vitamins and minerals, etc., take a really decent multivitamin.
And a good probiotic.
Good probiotic and fish oil and vitamin D.
Yes.
And one more, calcium, Magnesium. So magnesium before bed, ideally with magnesium and calcium mixed, because the calcium is needed for the magnesium to be absorbed before bed. And then during the day, 10,000 ICU, unless that's a hospital term. IC, on the vitamin
Yeah.
D3, there's like an I think it's IU, 10,000 IU a day. And that's how much I take, not even in recovery. A decent multivitamin, an omega-3 and a prebiotic. Probiotics, I take both. A probiotic, but pre's not important. In fact, avoid that because that's actually some kind of fiber.
Yeah.
So that's important. And please let us know, by the way, please let us know whether publicly and tag us in our stories or send us a DM how you get on with this, because we freaking love this question.
Yeah.
Okay, next one, and I'll let you answer first. Oh, this is from our lovely friend Carla. When did you realize that you're going to be friends forever? Which is a great question because we work with a lot of clients, right? So we can't be friends with everyone, obviously. I'll let you speak first because we chatted about this earlier and we both had exactly the same realization, didn't we?
Yeah. So, I mean, there was always a connection, a really good connection throughout the coaching.
Yeah.
And then I came over here, Netherlands, for a self-love day.
In coaching, like under the coaching umbrella kind of thing. Yeah.
And very amazing, very challenging.
Yeah, don't give my secrets
no,
away.
I'm not going to give your secrets away. Wow. And I think I said, oh, I'd love to see you if you come over to England, come and stay. And you said, okay. And I was like, oh my God. But there was, I suppose I didn't have the self-confidence I have now. So I kind of felt that it probably was just a throwaway comment in a way, but then I didn't. That makes no sense, does it?
Yeah, I think I
didn't dare to believe.
Yes, exactly that I meant it.
Yeah.
Because I also don't say shit I don't mean, because I'm doing a lot of work on people pleasing. And I wouldn't have said that if I didn't mean it. If you'd got me a couple of years ago, I might have said it and not meant it, but I did mean it, which is why I said it.
Yeah. And so then, I don't know, the coaching finished and we just naturally messaged quite a lot and chatted quite a lot anyway, didn't we?
Well, the thing is though, I supported you at the beginning of your coaching journey so that was that as well. So I supported you to become a recovery coach and just shared everything that I'd done. And now you're a recovery coach with paying clients and a great podcast and all those things. So then we started talking more about just businessy stuff because we had the same lifestyle then.
Yeah. And then you came over.
I came over to stay. I didn't even go to Derby, which is where I'm from. I went straight to Southampton. Was it? Airport?
You flew into Southampton, yeah.
Yeah.
And then came down to Bournemouth.
Yeah, where Julie's from.
And
the rest was history.
The rest was history. Oh, it was so easy. It was just like
literally sisters.
Yes. There's no trying to be polite, trying to please. There's none of that. It's just
there was no coach-client vibe at all. No. That just went.
And so much fun. We were like children.
Oh my God.
Playing on rope
inner children are obsessed with each other, aren't they?
Yeah.
So probably not, it's a bit weird, but they just love each other so much.
Yeah.
And now it's the same. Isn't it just amazing?
And I can't believe I'm going home tomorrow.
I know. I don't want you to go home tomorrow. It's just so easy.
It is.
And she's even cooked dinner for us as well. It's just so easy. I can't describe it. It's such a beautiful. So to answer, okay, how do we answer the question directly? When did you realize? When I came over to stay with her, and our inner children connected. We had so much fun. I felt like I was home at your house.
Yeah, just the fact that it was so easy. That was
almost like too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't describe it.
Yeah.
So we knew before, but we knew consciously when I came to stay.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy I did. And I'm so grateful that Julie found me because it's getting dark. Because Julie said to me in the consultation call, and she was right, and she helped me change my website a little bit. She said, your website is aimed primarily at binge eating recovery, which it was.
Yeah, and I'd never binged in my life.
No. So what makes you in alignment with me or something. You didn't ask it like that, but you
No.
asked something like that. And I just shared from my heart. I can't remember what I said now. And then that encouraged me to actually tweak my website a bit, because I do help women in all different kinds of stages of eating disorders. I know binge eating is a response to restriction anyway. Only the one we were chatting about, binge eating disorder with no prior restriction, is different. And I help women in all eating disorders anyway. So yeah, I'm so grateful that you found me.
So am I.
Oh my
So
God.
grateful.
And I've met her husband, Dave, as well, who's actually epic and hilarious. You would have met him through Julia's podcast. Great guy. Oh, yeah. Shall we leave that one till last? Because it's a
Yeah.
little bit different to
Yeah.
that one. We've got 2 questions left. How did you deal with not knowing what you'd look like at your set point? Great fucking question. Can I go first?
Okay, so ultimately, it doesn't matter what you look like at your set point, because it's, you are not your body, you are not what you look like. But that doesn't really answer the question. How did you feel about not knowing?
Yeah.
Terrified, to be quite honest.
I was petrified.
Absolutely.
I thought I was going to gain
terrified.
weight forever and just get fatter and faster and
Yeah.
faster and fatter. And then I had the thoughts of like, well, is restriction better then than that?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There was several times where I was just like,
I can't.
yeah, ready to go back to the eating disorder.
Yeah. But you have a great coach who's been through it and who also knows the science behind set point weight. That was a game changer for me, actually, to read up and educate myself, because my coach at the time didn't know this. So, throughout my journey, I've had different coaches, but none of them were like me or you, because they just weren't. We put everything together that we've learned.
Yes.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, it's the self-love aspect is huge.
Oh yeah, we'll go into that in a sec. But in terms of set point weight, for me to look at the science of that, it was almost like proof that my fear needed to reassure itself.
Yes.
That you will not gain weight forever and ever and ever. There will be a point where, when you're eating unrestrictedly and you have a healthy and happy relationship with food, mentally, physically, emotionally, your body will just arrive at a weight. And this is my weight. And I do want to say, of course, it's still in the normal size. No one looks at me in the street. Well, who freaking knows? They might. I can fit in a seat. I'm not worried about shopping at standard clothes. So I have recovered in a slim body. So I want to point that out. But that does not take away the fact I would rather have died than gain weight at one point. So I just want to also validate my own experience there and say that I was petrified.
With regards to the science of the set point weight, though, I'm sure most people's eating disorders, and mine certainly did say, well, what about people who are in supersized bodies?
Absolutely.
And my answer to that is,
there's so much there.
feel that that's almost an eating disorder in itself.
That could be binge eating disorder without any restriction.
Your body's natural set weight range will be where you are at your optimum health.
Yes.
And you can be either side of that for any number of reasons.
Yeah.
But when you listen to your body,
do the emotional work,
stuff, and you follow your body's cues, you will arrive at your set weight range. And that is where you are the healthiest.
Yes.
And there's many reasons people are either side of that. Yeah,
because naturally there's people in bigger bodies who are in their natural healthy set point weight.
There are, and they're very healthy.
Yes, exactly that. And because we're not all meant to be the same.
No, and there's people in smaller bodies who aren't at their set point weight, who are not in good health.
No, but who might look in good health.
Yes, because that's just how society's conditioned us to believe that smaller is healthier.
Yeah,
it's not true.
Not at all. So how did we deal with not knowing? Do you know, I'm going to give you one word, which it might be such a shit word to say, depending on. In fact, I know this soul, actually. I'm seeing her next Sunday.
Hey.
Yeah. So I know you can handle the answer to this, but someone who might not be where you are might not understand this word. Surrender to the fact that number one, you have two choices. It helped me to be like, okay, well, I can go back to the eating disorder
at any point, really.
At any point and live with a restrictive eating disorder for the rest of my life. Fell into that. No fucking thank you. The second choice is to keep going, to get the right support, to trust and surrender that your body knows what it's doing, because it really does. I mean, for goodness sake,
Yeah.
it beats your heart every day without you having to think about it.
The whole when you need a wee going for a wee helped me. Your body knows
Yeah.
what to do. Excuse me, I'm going to cough.
That's fine. At the same time, it won't pick it up, I don't think, on the microphone. Your body knows what to do. So I invite you to write a list, and you've done this. I'm speaking directly to the person who asked the question. You've already done this, but anyone else, write down 100 reasons why you can trust your body. You might be repeating yourself a bit, but let's push ourselves. 100 reasons why you can trust your body.
Yeah.
And then why the hell then can you not trust your body for it to guide you to what it needs to eat, how much it needs to rest, and then it will arrive at a weight that's healthy for you. And then there is such thing as potential overshoot, which I haven't got my phone to show the diagram. I'm going to draw it with my finger. Podcast, you're not really missing out much. But so let's say you go on your last restrictive diet, or you're at the depth of an eating disorder and you're very, very low on the graph of like below your set point. And then you start recovery, you go all in, and your weight might, depending on where you are in relation to your set point, when you start the journey of recovery, your weight might shoot up. And because your body only cares about survival, it's got all these repair works to do. It will usually, not everyone, I did by about 10 pounds-ish, have an overshoot weight where you will go up to, and then without doing anything different, still eating unrestrictedly, still doing everything you were doing in the beginning of recovery, some people naturally just drop down a little bit. So then your set point weight then completely evens out if you don't fuck with your relationship with food. And that was my experience. And you're perhaps in that experience right now.
I feel, and I don't know for certain, that I did overshoot because my weight, I don't know my weight, I don't weigh myself.
No,
my clothes are getting looser, and I feel that my body is settling down more. But physically, I suppose because of the duration of time I was in the eating disorder.
Yeah. The severe restrictive. At least I was binging at half of mine, so at least I was nourishing myself.
I feel like the physical repairs have taken, for me, longer than the mental work, the emotional work.
Yeah. Which is great. Because you're fine with it all then.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
So I think my body had to overshoot to have enough stores to start the extensive repair work, because you're not going to start a big job with just a week's worth of materials, are you?
No.
So
that's a great way of looking at it. It's very true. And also financial materials, if you look at it from like a building perspective.
Yeah.
If you're going to run out already, then what's the point?
You're not going to re-roof your house when you've only got tiles for one corner, right?
The rain's going to come in.
Yeah. So you need to get the whole lot to do the job.
And have extra tiles just in case.
Yes. And then when the job is done, you can sell the excess tiles.
Exactly that.
So yeah, I feel that I'm towards the end of, I don't know for certain,
letting go of the tiles, so to speak. But one last thing around that is, again, surrender, but letting go of control. Because even trying to know your set point, even what I did, because I knew it was a set point range, I was like, okay, then I'm going to be in my set point range, but the lower end of my set point range. And then I was like, right, so if my body's got a range of between 7 to 10 pounds of a range, and this is, I've dropped my crystal, this is environmental, meaning I have a personal training session 3 times a week now because I absolutely love it. If for some reason I was injured, touch wood, and I didn't have those, my set point range, because my set point won't go up because I'm in my set point, my weight might go up a little bit because I'm not moving as much, but it's within a range. So everyone's different between around 7 pounds of a range, depending on your environmental factors. So I wanted to then control the part of the set point range I was in. But then that's restriction, that's fucking with your food, and that's actually doesn't work, because then I had the rebellion binges that got me out of my set point range in the higher side. So I learn over and over again through trial and error, all you can do is surrender, trust, listen to your body, eat unrestrictedly, do the emotional work.
Yeah. And I would say, don't be thinking, I'm in an overshoot, this is going to change.
Yes.
I did that for ages, and it's only when
you let go.
I let go and said, actually, this is the body I'm in, and I'm just going to accept her and stop wishing for change. Stop checking every day to see if the edema is going down. If just, this is my body today, this is me, tomorrow this is going to be me, and stop hoping for different, just accepting what is.
Amen to that. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Because we only have now. So
Yeah.
in the future, we could gain weight, lose weight, stay the same weight, but we only have now anyway.
Yep.
So, and that's what Dawn shared with us at meditation. What didn't she? Just for today.
Yes.
So just for today, I'm going to practice. It's a practice, and it's a state of being, to be in acceptance and surrender. The body I have.
Yeah.
Just for today. And then tomorrow is another just for today. And then before you know it, including all the recovery work you're doing, you're no longer afraid of weight gain. I never thought those words was ever come out of my life, out of my mouth. I'm not afraid of weight gain. Are you?
No, I'm not afraid of weight gain. I mean, if I had
Wow.
a magic wand and I could wave it and choose exactly what size I wanted to be, it probably wouldn't be the size I am.
Yeah, same.
But
we don't have a magic
we
wand.
don't have a magic wand, and I am not prepared to give up any of the other gains I had.
No,
just
no way.
To have my body looking different.
Because our values have changed now too. So yes, it would be nice for me to have my 6-pack back again and blah, 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 with all the fitness stuff I was in. But it's
even
just,
that's a conditioned mindset though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a, wouldn't it be nice?
Yeah.
And I don't even, in fact, I don't even think about it unless it's brought up in front of me, or someone asked me the question directly, or we're being honest with you now.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice? Because my value isn't appearance anymore, so I don't value it anymore.
One thing that's I find interesting though, although if there was a magic wand, and yes, I would change how my body looked. Although I don't love how my body looks now, if I think back to when I was in the eating disorder and my body was a lot smaller, I hated my body. I hated how my body looked, even when it couldn't have got much thinner, because there wasn't much left to lose.
Can't lose skin.
No, I still thought I was fat. I still hated my body. So there's
nothing to lose.
There's nothing to lose, really. You don't have to love how you look
to be so fucking happy in life.
Yeah, you can accept
Yeah.
how you are. I love my body, not for how she looks, but for the fact that I'm still alive.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday. Just how are you still alive? I have no idea. Nope.
For everything, all the support, just everything.
She's kind of cool, isn't she, your body?
Yeah,
my body is too. And can we just point out how red my face is? It does that, doesn't it? My face is so cute because I have no makeup on. When we go outside, and we did this morning a lovely walk in the woods, and it's a bit cold, when I get cozy and warm, those of you that are not, it looks like I've got a mask on, a white eye mask, doesn't it?
Why aren't your eyes red?
No idea, but that's what my face does. And I used to hate it about myself, but now I think it's quite cute. But what I will add to that before we move on to that not complicated question, but the last one is, oh my God, wait. Oh, it's gone. It's gone.
It'll come back.
It'll come back. You were just talking about accepting the weight gain and everything. Oh, it's come back. Thank you. So I did. So Julia shared that she didn't like her body in the thinness. The anorexia I didn't. I'm talking specifically now about the bulimia. So when I was binging, purging, repeat, I did like the way my body looked. So I think that's worth saying, because a lot of other people do have the experience Julia's had where she didn't like her body, but I did. I mean, it was never good enough, obviously. It was never good enough, but I loved the way, I mean, looking back now, I think it's way too much. But at the time, I loved the way my body looked. I was proud of my leanness and muscles and blah, blah, blah. But even still, giving that up was worth it to gain weight and to gain the mental freedom and the self-love that I have. It's worth it a million times over. So I guess it all depends on what you want more.
Yeah.
It all, because if you're in an eating disorder and you say you want to get out, and of course you do, how do I say this without offending anybody? Because everyone's story is different. And, you know, there's things like ADHD and autism and everything that kind of can encompass this. In my opinion, professional and personal, and I ask how Julia feels about this, but I already know because we chat about this stuff all the time. The pain of staying where you are has got to be worse than the pain of change for you to make a change.
Yes.
Otherwise, you will stay stuck in wanting to, reading about it, doing a course, reading another book, and not actually doing anything, just learning about it.
And on that point, I think there's a point partway through recovery when the pain of where you were and how awful it was has faded a little.
Oh, yes.
But you're still in the huge pain of trying to recover.
And weight gain.
And then the pain of where you were looks better than the pain of recovery.
So glad you brought that up.
So what would be really helpful for you to do for yourself right now is to write yourself a letter of how shit living in the eating disorder really is and how you really feel, so that you can read it when that part in the middle comes and you think the eating disorder wasn't so bad.
I literally have tears in my eyes because I'm so glad you brought that up, because that was huge for me.
Yeah.
The weight gain came, and like I said a bit ago, I was like, I think the eating disorder is better and I want to go back. But that is not true. That is like anyone that's had an ex-boyfriend who's perhaps been abusive or whatever, and then it's so bad you break up with this person and they hound you and send you flowers and things, and then you start to think, oh, maybe it wasn't that
so
bad. And
after all.
you know, we had all these good times. Nope, don't go there.
So write yourself a letter.
Yeah. In depth, in detail.
Of how shit it is.
And how you feel.
Even the horrible, like the
day-to-day.
The side effects of the laxative abuse and all that, all the awful stuff that you don't even want to think about because it feels so awful.
Yeah. Write about it. And like, I'm so glad you brought up Julia. And then how you say, it won't always happen.
No.
But it happened to me, and it can happen to me a lot.
Yeah.
When you're thinking, I can't do this.
It's too hard.
I want to go back. It's too hard. What if I'm the person who recovers in a bigger body and still has a mental eating disorder and is actually worse off and still in the eating disorder? It's impossible for that to happen if you do the work. Impossible, because you're a human, you have a brain which can be rewired through repetition, consistency, and with a coach like Julie and I, who actually knows what they're talking about and who's done it themselves, the emotional work, the support, of course you will fully recover.
Yes, and the way you're feeling that the eating disorder doesn't seem so bad after all is evidence that recovery is already helping you, because you're already feeling better than you were when you were in the depths of the eating disorder.
Because you're forgetting about I guess is it like pregnancy or not?
No.
Okay, I don't know. So, because I think of pregnancy, then I think, holy shit, why do people have babies again after?
Oh, yeah, you forget the pain of childbirth.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, you don't forget the pain, but it's not so bad.
Well, that's different because it's a loving biological thing to create life.
Still hurts.
I can imagine. So yeah, massively grateful you brought that up, Julia. This is why I love what we do here. And the last one was opinions and thoughts on the, how do you say it?
I was going to leave
Ozempic.
Ozempic, yeah.
Ozempic, which
the
is
weight loss drug.
The weight loss drug, which was invented and created for people with diabetes, if I'm.
I'm going to
correct?
let you answer this question because
Yeah.
I don't have enough information on it.
Okay, and I did research it because I needed to know what this was. So anything that I'm going to share now is just from research I've done, remembering what people have shared. So this is just a full-on Victoria opinion. I've never taken it. I've not supported a client who's taken it, so I don't have experience with it. But from my knowledge, it was created for people with diabetes because apparently, and again, I'm not a doctor, but I've done a lot of research and have interviewed a lot of professionals in this space. Apparently, losing weight cures diabetes, which in my opinion is bullshit. It's blood sugar management. There's a lot more to it than just weight loss. So it was created for patients to lose weight as a quote helpful way to go. However, I've heard there are extreme side effects because what it does when you inject it, I think you inject it, I'm not sure, like every so many weeks or every month or something like that. And when you inject it, you can feel extremely sick. They even advise taking a few days off work if possible because you feel that bad. And what it does is it delays digestion. So it almost, like I was saying to you, Julia, mimics when someone's in anorexia, if they eat at all, your body will cling on to as much of it as possible, obviously, because it has no idea when it's going to get food again.
Yeah.
So taking this drug injection thing, it keeps food in your stomach for a very long time. I think it's called delayed gastral emptying, something like that. So you don't feel hungry hardly ever. Everything slows down, your digestion slows down. If you like pooing every morning, I'm assuming you're not going to poo every morning.
If everything's slowing, your metabolism's slowing as well, right down.
Yeah, everything's slowing down, but you're less hungry. So and again, what if people eat when they're not hungry? Because I do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So again, I've not had experienced this, but from what I'm aware, there's a lot of side effects that you apparently just get used to. And then that's how you lose weight because your appetite goes. But two things I will say on this. Number one, not gonna lie, if this had been in on the market when I was in the eating disorder, so before I was 30, I would have given my entire life savings to get this drug. I would have probably cut my arm off to get this to lose weight. I would have given anything to lose weight. So I would have been on this bandwagon 1,000% in the eating disorder. So absolutely no judgment. And I'm not in a large body. So I haven't got experience of what that is like either. So I want to speak to that too. But I will say, unless you want to take this for the rest of your life, which I don't know if you can actually do that, whether it's safe to do that, I don't know, then I would not advise it at all ever, because if you come off it, your set point's going to go back up to where it was. Your body will fight. Well, your body will never stop fighting to get to its set point. You've not actually learned how to connect to your body because you're just like suppressing it with an injection. And so you're going to be no further along.
And your body's so clever, it's going to adapt anyway, and your metabolism's going to drop, and your body will adapt to still fight to try and keep you at your set point weight range, even though you're taking this substance. I don't know. I just don't think I'd want to put it in my body anyway.
No, this is my personal opinion. I wouldn't.
Side effects means that it's basically poisoning your body. Your body does not like it.
Your body's not functioning as a body should.
No.
In a healthy way.
You wouldn't have those side effects if your body was accepting it.
Exactly. So I've heard, and again, I don't know, but I've heard you have to take all the drugs as well to try and stop the side effects being so severe, all for the name of weight loss. And I feel like, when is this ever going to end? When we decide it ends. And again, I'm not in a large body, so it's easier for me to say, and I have the knowledge of experience of recovery and self-love and all of that. And so I don't blame anyone who is on it, who wants to be on it, because a thin body in this society equals validation, acceptance, all of that. But unless you want to do the deeper work,
it doesn't equal self-acceptance though.
Oh my God,
and
the opposite.
Happiness is not a number on the scales.
No.
It's not a destination of a number.
Or from a drug to make you smaller.
I never reached that. I reached my targets so many times and they always changed. I never reached the happy.
Weight loss doesn't make you happy.
No.
You think it will, and you'll have past evidence that you're happier, because I did when I lost weight. It was temporary. It's all conditional, temporary happiness. And this is a great note to end on, and just an hour, oh my goodness.
We've really
unless,
talked for that long.
yeah, look, 56,
20 minutes, you said.
whatever. Unless you are ready, okay, not ready, scrap that. Unless you're willing to do the deep inner work, your relationship with yourself won't change if you're only focusing on the behaviors such as weight loss, weight gain, eating more, eating less. It's only going to be temporary.
Yeah.
And we want true lasting freedom for you for life, which is what we have, which is why we're helping other women and men, whoever feel called to work with us, get to that place. And it's indescribable, isn't it? We would not be doing what we've done this weekend and had such an incredible time and yummy food, and food just be pleasurable and nourishing and not anxiety provoking or a binge fest for the weekend. Although depending on what I ate last night, people might decide I was binging, but that's just how I love to eat at the cinema. A big fuck off pick and mix. And it was so good. So yeah, last words of wisdom from your little red face friend. It's worth it.
Oh, 100%. What you gain is so much more than just weight.
It really is.
Just
yeah,
so much. It's what I weigh is insignificant now.
Completely. Like actually, not even pretending it's like it
it's
actually
completely
is.
Insignificant.
Yeah.
It doesn't, if somebody doesn't accept me for the size body I'm in, then they're not my person.
No, and they're judging themselves for their size body because everything's a mirror. So if you want to be free, fully recover, you deserve more than, what is it, Casey recovery when you
I don't know. I always think it's quasi,
quasi.
but I don't know.
I don't know. We should know this. Well, actually, we shouldn't, because we don't live in the.
Everybody says it's differently though, so I hear it differently.
You deserve more than part recovery, than almost recovery.
You deserve to be free.
Yeah, and free is free, full stop. Not half
it's not
free,
conditionally free.
not conditionally free. Free, full stop.
Yeah.
And we are, and we can do it. And I swear to God, I know that a lot of people say, if I can do it, so can you. You really can, because we didn't think we could.
40 years. Like
Julia had 40 years in severe restriction.
Yes.
I had 5-6 years in anorexia, and the rest of my years was spent binging, purging, dieting, like yo-yoing up and down, up and down.
And I just had no self-worth at all.
No.
I was just scared of everyone and everything.
You was very scared when I first met you. And I've always been bold, but I was scared of weight gain. Petrified. Anyway, 59 minutes and 15 seconds.
Wow.
And we'll do another one. We just won't be in, well, we will be in person because I'll go to Julie's, but it might not be for a couple of months. So we'll do another one over Zoom.
Yeah.
So as always, we do love your feedback.
Yes, definitely.
We love your feedback.
Love your questions as well.
We love, because otherwise we'd have to make our own questions up, and it's not as fun, is it?
No.
We want to support you with what you need support with. So keep sending you questions in. Please tag us and share on your stories, and encourage people to watch, listen to this. And we love you
so much. You can do it. We believe in you.
1000%. And we know you can all do it. Much love.
Bye.
Bye-bye.